From biochemistry grad to content creator extraordinaire, Taylor Mobley is the entrepreneurial mom of three who turned her blog into a wildly successful podcast. In this episode, she shares her proven strategies for building a thriving business while prioritizing family life. Essential insights for any parent looking to achieve that elusive work-life balance. Welcome to the Podcasting Secrets Show, where successful creators share their best stories, secrets, and strategies. I'm your host, Nathan Gwilliam. Hello, incurable creators, and welcome to this episode of Podcasting Secrets. On today's show, I am joined by Taylor Mobley. Taylor is an entrepreneur who's been helping businesses for more than a decade. She helps them with their sales and marketing. She runs a podcast called the Hustle Like a Mother podcast, and she has more than 60,000 followers. And today we're going to talk about building a business and succeeding as a mom with young kids and how to juggle all of those different things you have going on in your life, maybe taking some breaks for pregnancy and maternity and being able to juggle the things that really matter while you're successfully building your business. Thanks for joining us, Taylor.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Can you start off by sharing with us a little bit more about your story, your background, and
Sure.
your journey to become an entrepreneur and podcaster?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have a degree in biochemistry and didn't use it at all. So at the end of graduating college, I had started a blog and very quickly was able to grow and monetize that. So I did never take like a legit job after I graduated college. I was able to make a full-time income from my blog and ads and Pinterest. That was actual website blogs were really big. You know, about 10 years ago, Pinterest was really booming. And so I was able to do that right out of college and have pivoted over the years to include social media in that income stream as well. And so that was my start into entrepreneurship. My husband bought me the littlest, like $300 camera and was like, okay, let's see if you can make something of this. And has been great. And I'm still out here doing blogging and social media, and I love it. And so I was able to travel a ton when I first started that with different brands and do content creation. And then as I started having my kids, about 5 years into that, I pivoted a little bit to more helping other business owners grow their businesses and do social media management and marketing for small business owners, because it was a little bit easier on me as a new mom to not do so much travel and hands-on content creation myself. I was able to do more of the behind-the-scenes strategy. And so I pivoted from a lot of the heavy lifting content creation into strategizing with small businesses and their marketing and their sales development. And around the time my first son was born, I started my podcast, Hustle Like a Mother. And it was really born out of, I needed other moms and businesses to talk to. And it was a great way to do that for an hour once a week and get the like inside scoop on how people were doing this with little babies and not losing their business in the process. So Hustle Like a Mother was born out of that. It has, over 200 episodes, and it is just really a great resource for people, mothers specifically, to know that they're not alone and hear tips and tricks from other successful entrepreneurial moms. That's kind of where we're at now. I've been doing that, both of those things for years, added a few different services to my deck for other small businesses, but that's what we're doing.
Okay, I have several follow-up questions.
Great.
You just told. I've been frantically writing these down.
Okay, I'm ready.
So first of all, I want to talk about your degree, which you did at BYU, Idaho, which is here in Rexburg, where our corporate headquarters are, small rural Idaho. Can you tell us why you got a degree in chemistry that you never used?
Yeah. My husband calls it a spite degree. I had a teacher at the beginning of my college degree say I should probably not do science because I wasn't very good at it. And I had wanted to do cosmetic chemistry. So I wanted to make makeup and skincare and that kind of thing. and I was struggling in organic chemistry. And I was really having a hard time. She was like, you probably need to pick something else. This isn't like a career path for you. And I was like, now that you've said that, I have to get this degree and prove that I can do it. So I did, and I ended up doing very well. And I sent her an email afterwards with my degree, said that I did it. I never heard back, so I don't know what she feels about that. But I tend to do that in a lot of areas of my life. If somebody says I cannot do it, I have to do it more.
Okay, so I want to make a few comments about that. I think that is an amazing attribute for an entrepreneur in some ways. And it can
It's been a blessing and a curse, I think.
Yes, that's right. It's a blessing and a curse together. Okay, so number one, chemistry was my least favorite subject. So I share that with you. That is not fun. And number two, I remember at BYU when I was going there, organic chemistry was the weeder class for everyone that wanted to get into medical school.
Yes.
So it's not just a hard class by topic, by the sheer nature of it, but it's the hard class because they purposely make it hard because they want to weed out the people who are not prepared to go into the medical field.
School.
That's right. So it's intended that way, and you succeeded in that. That's great. Third,
it took me 2 tries. I took that class twice, but I did get through it.
And third, that concept of, okay, someone told me I couldn't do that, and that you said, I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to get it done. That's called self-efficacy.
Yeah.
Where you know that when hard things happen in your life, you're going to find a way to get through it. And of all the gifts that I could give to my kids, of all the gifts you could have to be a successful entrepreneur, and the attributes you could have, that is one of the best ones, to know that when things get rough and things get hard, you know you can get through anything. And treat that as a gift that will serve you well through your lives. When people talk about Gen Zers being entitled, and that's the other side of the coin, is if you can develop a strong self-efficacy, you can do anything, right? You can do almost anything.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a gift right now.
Okay.
and I'm going to tell you that you can't make $10 million a year from your business. Right. Okay. I'm going to tell you it's not possible for you to do that.
In like 5 years. Thank you for that. I'm just going to take that sticky note. That
you got to put it on your wall and say, Nathan Williams says, I can't do that.
He says I can't do it. So
it's impossible for me to ever get to $10 million a year.
My husband's going to be thrilled that you gave me this, this challenge. Yes.
All right. I want to talk about your comment where you said, I never have worked a legit job. And I want to challenge you on that.
Yes.
Because
I heard it as I said it.
Yes. I think you are working a far more legit job than going and being a manager at a Chick-fil-A, right? Like you could totally do this. You're a get it done, make it happen person with tons of self-efficacy. You could be the best manager in the whole Chick-fil-A business, right?
Yes.
And your skill set would thrive at something like that. And the world would tell you that that's a legit job. But I don't think that would get you where you want to be in your life. You look at the things that matter for you, and it sounds like being a mom and balancing those things that truly matter with your kids is the life you want to create. So running a Chick-fil-A is probably not a legit job for you.
Absolutely.
And you've probably gone and created, you with your master self-efficacy skill have created the most legit job that's possible. And you're kind of living the dream of creating creating this income stream while you can do the things that you want and live the life that you want. You've created the legit job for you.
Yeah.
So in your own words, why have you taken the career path you have taken? So
I always knew I needed to find something with flexibility because I always wanted kids. I always wanted to be a mom and I wanted to be home with them. So that was really important to me from the beginning. My mom was home for my sister and I know how incredibly important it was for us to have her there and available. And that is like the most important job I can do, right? But
100%. The most important job in our whole freaking society.
Yes. And so I knew that. already. Like I wanted flexibility, but I also know me as a person and I love to be busy. I want to be working. Like I love that. It just needed to be able to be flexible so I could do that without my kids getting sacrificed, right? So those are my like main goals when I was doing that was I like making money and I don't think it's bad to say that. So that like is
No, it's not.
So I wanted to still be able to do that. I loved helping women. I loved being creative. I love being creative. And I like being able to work on my own time. I was never a very good employee. I just kind of like to do what I want to do. And so
yeah, most great entrepreneurs say that. Like, I'm a horrible employee.
I'm not a good employee. I don't like being told what to do. And so I didn't want anybody to tell me what to do. So those are kind of my criteria. And I fell into content creation a little bit on accident. And it turns out like that filled my creative cup so much. And it was able to bring income into our family. I was able to kind of build it up before we had kids. And then after I had my kids, my oldest, and then I had two, my babies, like back to back, I really am living my ideal situation because tomorrow I get to go be the room mom in my kindergartner's class, you know, for their Halloween party. And that doesn't disrupt my work day. Like it just is. Like I just know that I can go do that. You know, I have my two littles are upstairs and I know that we get to, you know, go to the park in the morning or take things really slow. And then while they nap, I get to work. And then later my husband will come home and I'll get to finish my work tasks. And we have, well, like he takes over for, you know, bedtime and we have a system that really works for us. And it was really important to me that I was able to fill my creative cup, help support our family, and be a mom without feeling like I was sacrificing those things.
I love that. So in today's episode, if we had to give it a title right now, I'd probably call it something like how to build a successful podcast business as a mom with young kids and balance the things that really matter, right? Yeah. That would be the kind of the direction. And so I've heard the first takeaway here. Yeah. The first takeaway that we would teach people is start before you need it. You didn't wait till you had kids to try to start your business. You started 5 years before that because you knew where you wanted to go with this. Yes. And then by the time you had kids, you had income coming in from this, and it was a lot easier to lean on this before you had to actually do it. So it's kind of starting with the end in mind and starting way before you're actually gonna do it. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think it's easier. I don't think it's impossible if you decide halfway through, you know, or if you already have kids. I don't think it's impossible to do this, but I think it's a lot easier, you know, if you have a head start.
So talk them through that head start. What advice would you give them if they're starting before they have kids? What do they need to know to get ready for that?
You need to set your schedule up like to give yourself that flexibility now so that you're not feeling like you're throwing everything, you know, up in the air when you do get pregnant and have a baby, because they are chaos. And you don't always know, like all of my pregnancies are really different in the sense of like how much energy I had or how sick I was. And so you can't like plan for how you're going to feel. So if you have your systems in place to really support you during that time and you're able to take steps away without your business falling apart, that's what you need to set up ahead of time. So having, you know, a foundation in place, whether that's hiring a virtual assistant or that's doing, you know, automations, setting up automations for your business, set up your business so that you could step away without it falling completely apart, and do that ahead of time, like before it falls apart. And then you are able to take those steps away without the stress of, well, if I'm not doing it myself, it's going to disappear.
That is a great idea. So that the business still, that's really good advice. If you have to take a break for a pregnancy or a maternity leave, whatever, the business still runs without you, where you could pre-record episodes or those things you can't do, but there's someone that's kind of keeping it going during that period of time.
And I think it's okay to have the income be a little less during that time too, if possible. Like if paying somebody during those times takes away, your take home pay just a little bit, but it means everything is running, so it's ready for you when you come back fully. That was worth it to me a little bit to have those extra hands on deck when I needed them. Um,
Right.
and then I didn't always need them, right? So I didn't have to keep them necessarily if I wanted to take it all back. But it was worth it to me to kind of have that safety net.
That's right. And it's probably, as a mom with young kids, it's good to have that safety net, not just during the pregnancy and maternity leave, but
Just general.
just during life.
Yeah.
If you want to take a 2-week family vacation, right?
Yep.
Someone that can keep things running during that period of time.
Yep.
So everything is not dependent upon you.
Yep. I always think like if you can't pull your hands out at all, we need to reevaluate some things.
Yeah. Because motherhood just does not work that way.
It doesn't.
A kid gets
I
sick.
literally emailed you yesterday and was like, my kids are sick. I can't make it. And you're like, it's tomorrow. So don't worry about it. But, which was great. But it was one of those things where sometimes I got to shuffle my day around whether I want to or not. And so, I need to be able to step away if I have to. And that's okay.
Today's episode of Podcasting Secrets is brought to you by Pod Allies, the done-for-you podcasting services solution. When I speak with CEOs about their podcast, one of the most common comments that I hear is that they know they need a podcast, but they don't have time. Have you ever wondered how some businesses find a way to still run their podcasts while juggling their crazy day-to-day operations? The secret might be simpler than you think. Let me introduce you to Pod Allies. This is a service that's changed the game for businesses in the podcasting world. Pod Allies is a done-for-you podcast production and marketing service. They understand that while many businesses understand the immense value podcasting can have for their business, finding time to produce, syndicate, promote, and monetize a show can be challenging. Pod Allies offers a dedicated team to handle virtually all aspects of your podcast production. From strategy and branding to audio and video editing and guest scheduling, they've got you covered. They even take care of creating blog posts, transcripts, and syndicating your content across multiple platforms. What sets Pod Allies apart is their use of PodUp, their proprietary podcasting software suite. This allows them to streamline the entire podcasting process, saving you time, effort, and a bunch of money. If you're ready to become a thought leader, connect with your audience, and grow your business through podcasting without all of the investment of time and cost of doing it yourself, Pod Allies might be the perfect solution for you. To learn more or to schedule a free consultation with a podcast expert, visit podallies.com. That's podallies.com. Now back to the show. Let's talk about hiatuses.
Yeah.
Let's talk about pregnancies and maternity leaves and times that you need to maybe step back a bit from your business. How have you managed that?
Yeah, so with my oldest, I almost took no time off. He was a very easy baby. The pregnancy was very easy, and I was like, I'm the best mom ever. I so know how to do this. And then I have my 2 youngest children, and I don't have this, and I'm not always the best mom ever, and they threw me for a curveball. So, I didn't take much time off with my oldest, and I was like, it's going to be so easy. So when I got pregnant with my second, I was like, I don't even need to take any time because I know what I'm doing. And then he took me out. He is a second child, just fully. He has no fear, and I keep him alive every day. It's very stressful. My oldest follows rules. My second does not. It's a whole thing. And then I had my daughter 14 months after that. So it was crazy. I had like a 2-year period where I was just in the trenches. And I decided when I got pregnant with my daughter and I still had like a baby and my toddler, I was like, I'm going to need some time because turns out I'm not a superhero. And there is only so much of me to go around.
But you know what? You look at Superman and he has weaknesses too. You look at Wonder Woman and she has weaknesses. Even the superheroes have weaknesses.
Well, moms
are superheroes.
That's right. My weakness's name is Noah. He's 2.5 and he's a lot. So it is, I recognize that in myself. I had really bad postpartum anxiety and depression. And I knew I wasn't able to do all of it. I was really struggling. So my husband, could see that I was really struggling. My mom, my sister, and they were all like, hey girl, I think you need a break because you are spread very thin and it is not good for you. And I was like, you're right. So I did. I took about 18 months almost completely off where I let myself recover. I let myself, have my babies and have that like fourth trimester after my daughter was born to get back into feeling like myself again and feeling like I could manage everything. And luckily,
and start sleeping again.
We're almost there, but better than newborns. Yes. So feeling like I could handle things, and we're in such a great routine now. The light was at the end of the tunnel, but for those 18 months, it was not. So I took a step back and I had built my business where I could pre-record a lot of stuff. So I was ahead of the game already because I always recorded about 3 months ahead of time. So I was able to schedule all those out. I cut back on my posting time. I was only posting an episode twice a month instead of 4 times a month. So that stretched my 3 months into 6 months, which was great. It was less than I liked, but in this instance, it was okay. And none of my listeners threw a fit about it, right? They understood. I had put out a solo episode, like a mini solo episode that was like, hey, these are the changes that are going to be made for a little while. We will get back to weekly posting, but for now, it'll be twice a month. And everybody was great. They're like, take time, be with your babies. Like, that was the beauty of Hustle Like a Mother community, was like, they got it. So I had built this community that understood, and were excited to see me putting my children and my mental health first. And then I kind of ran the business on autopilot as much as I possibly could. I had my emails all done for 6 months. I had my episodes all done for 6 months. And then as I was feeling better, I was able to start recording again and continue that flow for about a year, where it was 2 times a month. And it was a much lighter business, the amount of tasks that I needed to do. And I had some help. I had a VA. She was helping manning social media and emails. And I really could take hands off except for when I was feeling really good and could record. And I was able to do that once a week, and it felt really good. I didn't need to edit anything. I didn't need to schedule out the social media. That was all running behind the scenes. And that's how I operated until I was ready to kind of put my hands back in the fire, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay. So adding to our list of, we're making our top 10 list of things
Perfect.
you do to succeed as a podcast,
Yes.
as a mother. So adding to that list, I heard some really cool takeaways there.
Yeah.
So number one, you talked about recording 3 months in advance. When I did my show, I published my first show. I published every day for a year. And at the beginning, there were a lot of times where it was like 11:30 and I was frantically trying to get it published by midnight. And it was really stressful. And then I brought in a new producer, who's still my current producer, and I love her. She does such a good job.
Yeah.
And she's published hundreds of episodes for me, and I don't think I've had one crisis situation since she's been with me.
Amazing.
And one of the biggest things that she did is she got me 2 months ahead to where what you're talking about here. And it's so nice. You want to go on a 2-week vacation, you can, and you're ahead. And if you want to reduce your stress level, get ahead. Yeah. My goal is to always be 2 months ahead. And that sounds like a ridiculous amount of work, but if you're once a week, it's only 8 episodes, right? It's not that bad. And it's a lot more when I was publishing every day.
Yes.
Episodes a day.
That's 60 episodes, but
that's a lot. But the concept is get ahead. It's worth putting in a bunch of effort because it simplifies your life and your stress level goes way down, and you're not going to be up at 11:30 trying to frantically get an episode ready.
No. And for me, it was like, okay, what if I have a kid home with the flu?
Yeah.
And I can't get my stuff out there. I have to cancel an interview or reschedule, like anything. What if I get sick? Like anything. I don't want to be working down to the wire because I already have enough stress in my life. Like just in general, I don't need to add this. Like this is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be fulfilling. It's supposed to fill my cup. And the second it stops doing that, I got to make a change.
That's right. I love that. Okay. So get ahead. The next point on that you said is this concept of cutting back. right? Where instead of going every week, maybe you were twice a
Yes.
month, every other week,
Yeah.
or if you're twice a week, going to once a week.
Yep.
That giving yourself permission to change and cut back when the analogy that I give is I used to live in Spanish Fork, Utah, and there was a bridge from our neighborhood that went over the river, huge, beautiful bridge that went over the river into this big sports park. And I loved that bridge, and I loved that river and the trail along the river. And the bridge, you could probably get 100 people on that bridge. It was a huge, big, strong bridge. But if you drove a tank across that bridge, it probably would collapse.
Yeah.
And the issue is, us as podcasters, our mental health is like that bridge.
Yeah.
We can only handle so much. Like your bridge, you've got a huge self-efficacy. You can handle a lot, but you could get 50 people on your bridge. But sometimes we try to drive a tank across our bridge, and all of our bridges have a point where if we go over that weight limit, it will collapse.
Yeah.
And we start dealing with things like depression and anxiety and my wife and I have a language between us where we talk about, my bridge is really heavy right now.
Yeah.
And we both know that that's something where we've got to step in and we've got to help get things off of that person's bridge.
Yeah.
And help them deal with that mental health situation.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we as podcasters think we become like prisoners to our podcast. We think that, I'm publishing every day, or I'm publishing 3 times a week or twice a week. And it's too much, but we think we have to do it.
Yeah.
And I love that you gave yourself permission to cut back to every other week.
Yeah.
That's a way to get weight off of your bridge. Doing 3 months ahead of time is a way to get weight off of our bridge and put our mental health first.
For sure.
And then the last one that you said that I love that we need to add to our list is you hired a VA so that what it required from you to do the episode took less effort. Yeah. And that was another huge way where you could still publish, but it took weight off of your bridge. So these things of publishing ahead of time, cutting back the number of episodes and bringing the VA so you have to do less for each episode are a great way to get weight off of that bridge.
For sure.
Any other thoughts of ways to get weight off of your bridge as a podcaster, as a mom podcaster?
Sometimes I have to kind of check my main character syndrome. And what I mean by that is sometimes I think people care a lot more than they do. And I hold myself to a standard that's like up here, right? Mm-hmm. And I really don't expect much less than perfection from myself usually. I don't have a lot of wiggle room. I struggle with giving myself a lot of grace. And I work on that a lot because I don't have a lot of room for error in myself generally. So my expectation is up here. Most people's expectation of me is like down here. And so I think everybody is up here with their expectation to me, and that I will let people down or disappoint, all these people if I am not 100% all the time. I've never had that proven true in 10 years of running a business and helping people run their businesses. Yep. And there is so much more wiggle room than you are giving yourself. And so I was so worried by doing less or cutting back or giving myself this time that I needed that I was going to lose everybody, and nobody was going to want to, they were going to be so disappointed in me that it was 2 times a month versus 4 times a month. And the response was simply not that. They were like, of course, I can't believe we're still getting content. Like, they were expecting nothing. And I was meeting them halfway. Like,
because you shared the story behind it and the why behind it, they probably connected with you at a deeper level than they ever would have.
And I got responses that are like, this gave me permission to do the same. And so not only was the response overwhelmingly positive, it was also, I gave the women in my community the permission to also do that for themselves, which ended up being more valuable than like any recent podcasts I'd even done, right? Like that was great. So stop expecting 100% perfection from yourself and thinking that everybody else is expecting that too, because truly they are not. We are not the main focus for everybody. We are a nice to have generally.
That's right. We're not the protagonist.
No,
we're the supporting cast member.
Supporting supporting cast member in their life, not the main character. And sometimes because we're the main character in our lives, we're like, we are also the main character in everybody else's. And, you know, they're going to be so tragic if they don't hear from us every week. And while they may be, some people may be disappointed because they enjoy your content, the majority of people will be like, awesome, we'll see you when we get back.
What are the 3 more things
Sure.
that mom podcasters need to know to be successful with young kids? What are the 3 most important things that they need to know?
Be flexible with your schedule and stop feeling shame if you have to reschedule with somebody.
Yep.
I used to feel really ashamed and embarrassed if I needed to do a reschedule because of my kids. And I used to think they're going to think I'm so unprofessional. It's going to be, you know, a nightmare. They're never going to want to come on my show again, or, you know, whatever the stories I told in my head. And maybe some people thought that. I haven't had anybody say that to my face. Maybe they thought it behind my back. But at the end of the day,
but if they do, it's okay.
They're not my
right?
people
We
anyways. If they don't understand, I'm always very upfront, you know, with the why of my reschedule. Like I said, I used to have a lot of shame and embarrassment around that. Mostly I had a fear of people thinking I was not professional. And at the end of the day, I have to remember the reason I built this business was so that I could be home with my kids. So if I'm sacrificing my kids for the business, right, I have it all backwards, and I need
completely
to reset.
Defeats the purpose.
I have to reset myself anyways, because the kids come first. Like, my first job is being their mom. So if they need me for the day, then that's what I got to do. And everybody else is going to come second to that. So I kind of let go of that feeling of shame, because that's like defeats the whole purpose. We're missing the point. And then I also think the people that understand that, like, they don't mind anyways, right? Like, they are okay with that. Those are the people I want, you know, on my show or interviewing me or in my community anyways. So that was one. Was that one?
Yeah, great. Keep going. Okay. What else?
The second one is find something you could talk about for a long time, right? That doesn't require massive amounts of brain power for you to come up with your episode topics.
Yeah.
The thing with Hustle Like a Mother is that's my life. So I could talk about it forever. I could talk to moms forever. I also love to talk. So, like, that is not usually an issue. But I could talk about entrepreneurship and motherhood for hours. I've spoken on panels about it. I've done tons of interviews. I have episodes and episodes on my own podcast. I talk about it on my Insta stories. I talk about it to people. I talk all the time about this. It's the thing that I know the best. So I don't have a shortage of ideas for it. And it never feels like pulling teeth to sit down and go, what am I going to talk about next?
And you don't have to put a bunch of research time in to prepare.
No, I'm living it. So, like, I don't feel like I have to spend a ton of time brainstorming the content. It just kind of comes naturally based out of my life. And then I think the third thing is know your limitations and try really hard not to do a ton more than what you can. Because it's okay to not do all the things. It's okay to not be in all the niches or talk to all the people.
Good enough is good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And there'll be an audience for what you want to talk about if you want to talk about it.
What is one of the hardest things you have gone through as a mom, podcaster, entrepreneur, and how did you get through it?
Yeah. For me, it was definitely when I had my 2 youngest back to back. Taking that time off was it's not something that's like inherently in me. I don't take a lot of breaks and I don't like to. So recognizing that I needed that break and working to build that in, that was a really hard, big, scary move for me. But ultimately, I had a lot of people who love me, like, recognize that I needed that break and helped me also recognize that. And so having the support system that I had was really, really key. I live, 7 minutes away from my parents and 20 from my sister, and my husband is the best. And so those people were all looking from the outside and they're like, you need a break. And so I was able to understand that and put those steps into place and ultimately come out stronger on the other side because of it.
Taylor, if our audience has enjoyed this podcast as I have, and they want to learn more about you and your services, what are the best ways for them to do that?
Luckily, I'm all over the internet. TaylorLately.com is going to be your best bet. It's got links to everything. The podcast, Instagram, blog posts, all the good stuff is there. I'm also on Instagram in two places. You could Taylor.lately is my lifestyle page if you're in for the motherhood and no business. And then if you're in for business and you're interested in working with me for, marketing and sales help, that would be on Instagram at Taylor Mobley Co.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today and sharing so much value with me and our audience.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
And here are my key takeaways from this episode. Number 1, build systems and get ahead in content creation before life gets chaotic. Number 2, stay flexible with scheduling and drop the shame around rescheduling for family needs. Number 3, focus on topics you can talk about naturally to minimize prep time. Number 4, know your limitations and resist the pressure to do everything. Number 5, consider scaling back temporarily when life demands it. Number 6, hire support staff to reduce your workload while maintaining quality. Number 7, authenticity with your audience builds deeper connections and loyalty. Number 8, let go of perfectionism and unrealistic expectations. Number 9, create a business model that supports your primary role as a parent. And finally, number 10, use batching and automation to maintain consistency without burning out. If you're looking for a great all-in-one podcasting platform with more than 50 integrated modules, you can get a free trial at podup.com along with a free 14-day podcasting course. Thanks for joining us for this episode. I wish you success as you create, grow, and monetize your podcast.